gonna take Cracker Jack timing, Wayne.
Total concentration. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
That's right, everyone here at Online Big Blue. We were born ready because they say we're cocky, but we say what? It ain't bragging, blah, 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 if you back it up. We want to talk about the Giants. We want to talk about the salary cap. We want to talk about waiver claims. We want to talk about grading this roster for the Schoen, for the Dable. Waiver claims, of course, the deadline to submit a waiver claim is at 12 p.m. today. The Giants are, I believe they're fifth, and they're behind Jacksonville, the Lions, the Texans, and the Jets. But I don't see the Giants putting in a waiver claim because if you put in that claim, you are automatically responsible for that player's 2022 salary. So right now, if you take a look at the cap estimates for the Giants are listed anywhere between negative $2.5 to $4.6 million in cap space. And they need to clear that cap space and be under the cap by Tuesday of next week. It's not a Herculean task, but you're probably going to move on from Darius Slayton. You're going to probably pick up some cheaper and free agents, either first-year players, or maybe you can try to bring in some guys in the in the veteran minimum. But like I said, I'm not seeing much on the waiver claim going on for the Giants right now because they just don't have the cap space. And to get under that cap space, they're going to have to do a little maneuvering. They're actually going to have to do a lot of maneuvering. And we all knew the cap space was going to be an issue. We all knew this. We've talked about the cap space ad nauseum, so we're not going to sit there and keep complaining about it. But the Cleveland Browns, I believe, have the most cap space, I think at $38 million. It just shows that sometimes how franchises can mismanage their cap space. And I laugh because it's the Giants, the Lions, the Jets, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Rams and the Ravens who have the least amount of cap space. The Giants have negative 4.6, Lions 2.6, Jets 2.6, Patriots 1.7. Eagles, after all the things they've been doing, they're only 185,000 under the cap space. Over the cap space. The Rams are negative 22. Only 22,000. So, it is what it is. We're gonna see some more cuts. We're gonna see some more moves. We're gonna see some more guys going on the injured reserve list. It's interesting because of the fact, if you take a look at this roster, I was trying to figure out how to grade the roster. I was trying to think about this. It also is going to be interesting at the beginning at 4 p.m. today. Today, teams can place players on the injured reserve list or the non-football injured reserve list. So we got to keep an eye out from that. Giants have several players right now who probably are going to end up on the IR, which I find interesting because you got Lemieux, you got Smith, and you got Rodarius Williams. Those are going to be three spots that we are going to need to fill because you're going to need a starting right guard. You're going to need someone to come in at that linebacker position. And you know how we are sitting right now at the cornerback and safety position. We got to find some talent. So you're looking at the roster, and we did this yesterday, and we're not gonna do it ad nauseum today. But if you take a look at it, and you want to give a grade to this team, you want to give a grade to this organization in reference to what they're doing. And if you look at the roster, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, if you look at this roster and you want to give Schoen or Dable a grade, and also we're going to throw in Wink in there and throw in Kafka, you got to give this team an incomplete. To me, this is an incomplete roster right now. I can't give a grade to it. I can't give Professor Schoen a grade at the moment. Because if you're looking at it, you figure the quarterback situation's set. I think running backs I think we're carrying too many running backs. We're carrying right now 5 running backs. One of them Chris is basically a fullback. Platts and Gummers are not going to be on the roster. But you're carrying 5 running backs. I think that's kind of heavy. I think you should carry 4. The tight end situation, we need some depth. People have talked about O.J. Mayo. Don't see it unless he wants to come in here on a team-friendly veteran minimum deal. But you got Bellinger and Tanner Hudson. It's amazing how I discussed before in the live stream how I thought the tight end room was one position that was set, and it's not. You take a look at the offensive line. I mean, if you lose Lemieux, are you really happy with Bredesen? Big old Joshua. I just like the name Joshua. I always want to have a kid named Joshua. John Feliciano, Max Garcia, Glowinski, Hamilton, Neal, and Thomas. I'm not overly confident with that group, considering 2 of them could probably be gone by now. If you sit there and take a look at the wide receiver situation, you can't be happy with the wide receiver situation as it is. I love the fact that, like I said, Dable came out and said Kenny G has done enough that we wanted to see out of him. That's a bunch of shit. You're just saying that's coach speak for we can't cut him because we own way too much money. You got the 5'8" Richie James and the 5'8" Wan'Dale Robinson. You got a bunch of slot guys on this team. You got the venerable David Sills. Good for David Sills for making the roster. I don't see him hanging on for more than a couple weeks. I still think Darius Slayton is one of your only true outside wide receivers, and you have Kadarius Toney. Like we said, Kadarius Toney has created his own. He really has created his own verbiage, his own language. Like I said before, the team you have when someone's going to injured, you either have probable, doubtful, out. And I know I'm missing the other one, but I can't think off the top of my head. But for Kadarius Toney, we've created a new phrase. He's not out. He's not doubtful. He's not probable. He's not questionable. He's hopeful. You have to be hopeful that he can play. I just love that we have that new vernacular for Kadarius Toney. If you take a look at the defensive backs, you got to remember. There's got to be someone on the waiver wires because you really can't go with Dane Belton only being back. Dane Belton backing up both Julian Love and Xavier McKinney. You need at least two safeties. And if Rodarius Williams is truly going to be out for an extended period of time, that's another roster spot you got to fill. And I have no confidence in Cordell Flott right now. I mean, it's shameful that you look at Adoree Jackson and go, wow, that's my number one. Hopefully he turns the clock back to a couple of years ago at Tennessee. But you know what? That's another Herculean task. The same with the defensive line. You got Davidson. I like DJ Davidson, but I don't think he's ready yet. Justin Ellis, Dexter Lawrence to me is not a true nose tackle. Leonard Williams and Nick Williams. And I always said this before. You're carrying 17 guys between the defensive line and the linebacking core. I don't think Cam Brown's going to be here. Austin Calitro, I like. We mentioned that. Carter Coughlin, I was shocked. Tate Crowder, I was shocked. McFadden, I'm not shocked because he's a draft pick. But then you have Fox, Ojulari, Smith, Thibodeau, Ward, and Zimenez. Who is your coverage guy? When we had Logan Ryan, we had Peppers, we had those guys. Those were two strong safeties that played in the box and they were more played as if they were coverage linebackers. Who are your coverage guys in these linebackers? Carter Coughlin can motor. Tate Crowder's too slow and undersized. Blake Martinez, you're asking a lot coming off an ACL. Calitro, I don't see. Cam Brown, I don't see. I don't see Ojulari being a cover guy. I don't see Thibodeau being a cover guy. Ward's not a cover guy, and Zimenez is not a cover. Who's covering the tight end? Just think about that for a second. In this linebacking core and in your safety core, you have 17 guys between the defensive line and the linebackers, and that's probably going to change. But who's covering the tight end? Is it going to be Zimenez? Is it going to be Ward? Is it going to be Thibodeau? Is it going to be Smith? Ojulari, Fox? No, none of those guys are coverage guys. You're going to be relying on your inside linebackers to be your speed coverage guys. If Beavers was on the team, I would feel a little bit better. McFadden, while he's got some athleticism, we talked about it before. I just don't see it. And that's got to scare some people. And then, like I said, if you think Rodarius Williams is not going to be available for the first 3 weeks of the season, you're starting I shouldn't even say starting, but your defensive backs are going to be Darnay Holmes, who's played well in the slot. Hopefully he's figured out Adoree Jackson, Flott, and Robinson. Who's backing them up? This roster is in flux. And the way this roster looks right now, August 31st, I am going to tell you right now, this coming up Tuesday, this roster is going to look totally different. We'll be able to give a better idea or a better understanding of a grade once this roster kind of shapes itself back up. Because right now, it's very incomplete. And I don't want to make fun of people who sit in there and go, well, our linebacking core is so excellent. It's not. It's not excellent at all. I don't know what you're looking at. This isn't the 86 Giants where we had Robbie, we had Andy Hedden, Robbie Johnson, Byron Hunt, and Steve Diassi. No, guys that could have started for 28 other teams in the NFL. This does not have that. This does not have that at all. You have Ojulari and Thibodeau, who are probably going to be quasi-linebackers, defensive ends. You have the fourth-year O'Shane Zimenez, who's disappeared the last 3 years. You got Ward, who was just Ward. You got Fox, the rookie. You got Blake coming off a torn ACL. You got Tate Crowder, who's undersized at the middle linebacker position. You got Carter Coughlin, was benched all last year. You got Austin Calitro, who's been bounced around the league the last 4 years. And you got Cam Brown. You need an upgrade at linebacker. You need an upgrade at defensive back. And you need an upgrade at safety. And technically, you could use an upgrade at defensive line because you don't have a run plugger. You don't have a Dalvin Tomlinson. And that's just the defense. This roster is beyond incomplete. And that's, and I'm not shocked by that. I'm not upset by that. I'm not mad about that because of the fact that we had to know this. You had to know this with this roster. You really did. Anyone that thinks otherwise, and still, I saw the craziness that some people are like, well, this is a 10 to 11 win team roster. Whatever you're smoking, I want some. Send some to my house. Whatever you're drinking, I want some. I got a nice bottle of scotch from Dom. I got a nice bottle of 10-year-old scotch from Dom that he brought over for me. So I mean, maybe I need to start drinking at that. I'm recording this at like 7:30 in the morning. Maybe I need to drink a little bit of that because I'm just not seeing it. If you step back and objectively look at this roster, and I mean objectively, not subjectively, if you objectively look at this roster, where are you seeing all these? Where are people seeing all this talent? I see a bunch of retread guys. I see a bunch of retread talent who probably would not make the 53-man roster on a playoff team. This is the way you should judge this roster. If you had a playoff team, would you want Cam Brown, Calitro, Carter Coughlin, Crowder, or McFadden? Or would you want Fox, Smith, Ward, and Zimenez? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys out of your linebacking core that probably wouldn't even make the 7th spot on another team's linebacking core. And you could do the same thing with the defensive backs. Would you really want Rodarius? If you're a playoff team, do you want Rodarius Williams, Aaron Robinson, maybe Julian Love and Dane Belton as your starters? No. Let's just be honest, and it's okay to be honest. It's okay to look at this roster and have an understanding that this is a rebuild, that Schoen is putting this team together, and he's kind of doing it with duct tape at the moment because he's got no salary cap. I give Schoen all the credit in the world, and I hope, like I said, I hope he continues, and I know he will. I know he will continue to move this roster and move it forward and move us back into the right direction. But like I said, let's not get crazy already. And I know a lot of people want to, and I know a lot of people want to have fun with it. And I know a lot of people want to sit there and go, oh yeah, we're winning 11 games. And I will say it before, you know what? It'll make yourself a happier fan if you look at this objectively and say, you know what? We're probably going to win 5 games, which is fine. We'll win 5 games, and then we'll kind of go from there. And hopefully we'll build towards next season and move forward in that direction. But you're going to make yourself a happier fan if you have a true understanding of the way this roster is, what Schoen is looking at, and how it's built. And I've said this before, be objective, look at this roster, and think of yourself as the Philadelphia Eagles or the Rams, and say how many of these guys would actually be in the last 7 spots of their roster, and there could potentially be starting for the Giants. That's all I ask. And again, this is Tim with the Online Big Blue. We're bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could like, if you subscribe, if you could ring that bell, I think it means that'd be awesome.